Science fiction became reality today. The Food and Drug Administration approved a computer chip that's implanted into people.
The chip would contain a person's medical records. The microchips have already been used to identify lost pets, and as Lisa Chiava shows us, they have lots of potential in people.
Every second counts when you need help, but you're unconscious, and doctors need critical information.
Okay, we want to know what medications you're on. We want to know what you're allergic to. We want to know kind of what your health problems are.
This tiny chip can lead to a wealth of information about you. If you had been implanted with the device, a doctor would scan your upper arm and then...
That's the number that would come up when you got scanned.
That number is entered into a computer database and your medical records appear.
I'll take you over here first.
Engineers at Digital Angel in St. Paul developed the groundbreaking chip. The company already sells 1 million ID chips for dogs and cats. That research helped the company develop something safe for humans.
We've over the years developed a plastic sheath so that the tissue adheres to it and it doesn't move.
It stays put in your upper arm after doctors use a syringe to implant it there. It will be marketed to people with health problems that may cause them to become unconscious. There are other uses. The military is considering the chip to replace dog tags. Workplaces with tight security concerns might ditch card entry systems and ask you to implant a chip instead. A few dozen people are already using them that way, but the approval for medical uses means Digital Angel's product will save lives and increase business here.
But certainly we would expect to have a significant increase in the next short term, 2 to 3 years.
Critics worry about medical privacy. A Digital Angel spokesman says doctors or anyone would need authorization to access the medical records that the chip brings them to.
And you brought us a few to look at here. You can see they're really tiny, like a grain of rice.
A company called VeriChip will be marketing them. So if you hear that name, that's the product developed right here in St. Paul.
Okay, there you go. Thanks, Lisa.
By the way, Digital Angel Corporation stock closed up nearly 29% at 3 point.
Doctors in our area are now recommending medical chip implants that they say could save your life.
But it has many privacy advocates worried. Dr. David Marks tells us more about this emerging technology.
It sounds like science fiction, but Nick Minacucci is getting a microchip implanted in his arm.
I didn't feel it at all, actually. When you pulled it out, that's the only time I felt it actually leaving.
The chip is smaller than a thumbnail, but allows doctors access to his entire medical records with only the swipe of a scan.
There's days I forget I even have it.
Molly Phillips is a diabetic. She had the chip implanted in her arm after a medical scare last December landed her in the hospital. Doctors didn't know what medication she was on.
If I'm in that circumstance again, they would scan my arm, pull up my information, and have it right there.
It was originally used for tracking lost pets, but the FDA approved VeriChip implants in humans last year. Since then, 60 people in the Northeast have gotten the chip implant. Each chip contains a unique 16-digit number that, when scanned, connects doctors to an internet database that retrieves medical records instantly.
It's the sickest patients that you need accurate information, medical information, up front in a very timely fashion.
Dr. Joseph Feltman heads the emergency department at Hackensack Medical Center, the first in our area to participate. He assures patients that their confidential records can only be viewed by proper medical personnel.
When you think of written medical records, how secure really are they?
But these microchips are at the center of a serious debate about fundamental privacy rights.
There are serious legal issues that are raised by this particular technology.
Privacy advocates say they're concerned these chips could monitor or track people, medical records could be abused, and a person couldn't remove the chip if they wanted to. The Electronic Privacy Information Center's Mark Rottenberg is concerned that there currently are no rules that regulate or limit how this chip can be used.
To suggest that somehow this is not personal information is simply misleading. It is very personal information.
But Molly says that in her case, she doesn't see a downside.
There's really nothing but my information on what kind of medicine I'm on. The doctor would want to know what medication I was on. I mean, nobody else would really care.
If you're interested in reading more about where you can get this microchip implanted, you can log on to our website, WCBSTV.com. Dr. David Marks, CBS.
Of troops in Iraq. The military is already using some type of GPS on some soldiers, but what more can be done? CNN's Brian Todd takes a look in this week's Tech Effect.
A relentless search for 2 missing American soldiers in Iraq. Could tracking devices placed on their bodies have helped to find them faster?
That kind of technology does exist. Obviously, it's not down to fine microchips at this point, but it does exist and is used in this theater by certain forces when they're conducting the specialized type missions.
Because of the high risk and sensitivity of those missions, we cannot say what units the troops who carry tracking devices are assigned to, what the equipment looks like, or where it's placed on the body. Just about every U.S. military vehicle in Iraq has GPS or another type of electronic tracking device so their commanders can monitor them. It's called Blue Force tracking. Some law enforcement units back home have experimented with chips that give physical data about officers but don't have tracking signals. U.S. military officials say soldiers and Marines in most regular combat units in Iraq, like the Missing Soldiers Division, are not outfitted with tracking devices. One reason, the high cost. Another, the danger involved if a soldier carrying one gets captured.
That provides certain options for the adversary. If he knows that this is a tracker and somebody's going to come back and get this tracker because they think it's associated with a human being, they have the ability to set up an ambush for whatever unit's going to come back and try and find this unit.
One option, placing a tracking microchip under a service member's skin. Former U.S. Special Operations officers tell us they believe that's being developed. Current military officials won't comment on that. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
Sometime in the next century, because computer chips are getting smaller and faster, and eventually the time will come when a child is implanted with a little chip back here and will learn to control the chip in the same way that you learn to control your bodily functions and your voice and your movements, so that not only can you, right now my mind is telling my body to talk, and it's supplying my mouth with the words that I'm giving to you, and the mind could also learn to say to the chip, go to a certain web page, download some information, and supply it to the inside of my eyeballs.
You believe that you're going to be actually able to tell your mind through a chip to provide you with information that you can then speak. So on this program, this would be great for me. You put a little chip in there, and if I didn't know something, I could say to the chip, would I have to say it out loud or just think it?
Either way.
I could just think it, give me an answer.
Right now, we're loaded up with bionic stuff already. I'm wearing glasses. I have fillings in my teeth. This is a wristwatch. I'm wearing clothing, which allows me to adjust to the climate as I go outside. So it's obviously only a matter of time until convergence allows us to match the number one tool of the next century, and that would be the computer chip. I mean,
okay, so the
clothes are
computer
tools,
chip,
glasses are tools.
Sure, but all of these are external. The computer should be in you, and that's what frightens me.
Well, it could be in you, or it could be wherever you wanted it to be. And it would allow you to make telephone calls without having a cell phone, allow you to surf the web without having to monitor.
Well, show me how. So if I had a chip embedded in my head, I could make a telephone call by
you could just start talking.
Call Mom?
Yeah.
And Mom would be, and I could talk to her?
And then you would just say, hello, Mom.
And I wouldn't have a phone or anything?
No. And so you have to have some body language so people would know what you were doing. Let's say you're standing at the American Airlines terminal, and you're calling the Advantage desk and saying, I've missed my flight, do you have any seats at 10 o'clock? Okay, if you're standing there saying that, somebody's going to look at you like you're one of these crazy...
But not if everybody had the chip, they'd all know what was going on.
Well, but you would do this.
Right. You go there to the little phone.
This means I'm not just talking to myself, I'm talking on the phone.
This sounds
if you're reading the web on the inside of your eyeballs, it would look rude to people. It would look like I'm staring straight through you. But I'm not staring straight through you. I'm looking at the Fox News web page, right? So how do I want people to know that? I would just go like this. You know,
so the whole sign language thing about what this sounds so unbelievable.
If I'm downloading information...
But it's true. It could happen, right?
Well, you see, my article is half serious and it's half satirical. I don't know which half is half, though, because things are converging so quickly, and computers are already such an amazing tool.
But we've checked it out a little further than your article, and the scientists tell us that it is absolutely true and absolutely possible for a human being to have a chip embedded in their system and to have many, many things appear in their mind upon command. So you would say, I need to know the name of the 18th president. Bing!
Not only that, I meet you and I call up your credit report while we're talking.